For years, FNAF fans have dissected every intricacy of each game, diving into everything the games have to offer, from the secrets, animatronics, characters, and game as a whole. But one of these things are not like the rest, with that being the original FNAF 3 main menu music. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, it is what is currently playing in the background. This sound was originally used in the FNAF 3 Troll game, which was a version of FNAF 3 that came out before the official version of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 released, where in this version, it features completely different gameplay, along with other various differences that are not present in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, with this main menu music being one of them. But this music sparked various theories, ideas, and even hoaxes regarding it, as this simple 30-second piece of audio unknowingly became one of FNAF's scariest pieces of cut content. But in order to look at all of these things, we need to go over some context, and you also need to subscribe if you love Five Nights at Freddy's or gaming urban legends. Five Nights at Freddy's 3, at least the Troll version, was released on February 15th, 2015, and became the first in a series of Troll games made by Scott Cawthon. This game featured a similar main menu screen to the normal version of Five Nights at Freddy's 3, with slight differences, such as different text, no FNAF 3 main text, and Springtrap being positioned slightly more zoomed in. But the gameplay was completely different, with it actually being a remade port of another one of Scott's previous games, with that being There Is No Pause button, where this version features the main character wearing a Freddy head. This was all there was to this game, as it served quite literally no other purpose but to build hype for FNAF 3 and Troll fans, as the only reason this game came to be was because of a joke announcement from Scott himself on Steam, where he mentions that he got hacked, and that FNAF 3 was cancelled, which led him to release it early, which ultimately led to everyone getting pranked with this version. But even though this game was almost entirely different from Five Nights at Freddy's 3, there are still some things that are relatively the same that make the mystery behind this main menu music even more weird, with the majority of them coming from this simple main menu screen. At first glance, when you look at the screen, you may just think that it is the exact same as the finished FNAF 3 one, except that there is some text missing, but you would be extremely wrong. As mentioned, Springtrap's pose is slightly more zoomed in, and also entirely has different lighting compared to the final version, as the final version has more of a green tint instead of a white tint in the light. But this could also be because of the different glitch effects, which are more prominent and green in the final version of the game, unlike how it is in this Troll version. The static effect looks more akin to something seen in FNAF 1 or 2, which is probably why the text also looks different as well, compared to the final game. Then of course, there is no main title text, and there is no new game or continue option, which is to be expected. But then this leads us all back to the main menu music for this version of the game, which I will let you guys actually listen to real quick without me speaking. Then if you guys haven't heard the normal FNAF 3 main menu music, or just haven't heard it in a while, then this is a quick replay of that for you guys. Now, I can't play the normal FNAF 3 main menu music since it is copyrighted now, but this is the new remastered version made by Brecken. But you guys get the point. It is extremely different from the Troll game version, but what is the point of this video? I mean, why would anyone make a video about a stupid main menu song? Well, that's because of the mystery surrounding it, as this video isn't just about the song itself, but instead about everything surrounding it. You see, as the FNAF fandom was arguably in its peak of popularity, whether it be from its fan-made songs, theories, videos, games, or even just the fan base, these games were constantly getting dissected, and this Troll game was no different. As I said, this was the first troll game Scott ever made for FNAF, so it was no wonder that people began to speculate if this game somehow tied into the normal FNAF games or was canon, with theories ranging from this being an arcade game that can be played in the real Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, or that this game was just a dream. Theories and ideas began pouring in, but one stuck, and even now when looking back at it, it almost makes too much sense, and honestly fits in with the lore. So even if it isn't canon, it still could be a headcanon. Now this theory doesn't have an official name, and hell, I don't even know if you could call it a theory, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to. And the name I have given this theory is the blood drip theory, which I'm sure you guys know why I named it that. Many people began to mention how this menu's music was way more dark than the normal FNAF 3 main menu song, and contributed this to various reasons, but many people speculated it was because Scott was secretly trying to hint the ending of Five Nights at Freddy's 3. When you listen closely, what does the audio sound like? Sure, it's dark, ambient, and eerie, but there is also another sound, a sound that almost resembles the sound of something dripping onto a floor. And after Five Nights at Freddy's 3 officially released, people looked back at this and speculated that this was the sound of blood dripping from the spring-locked suit after William Afton got spring-locked. Theories began to pour in, speculating that Scott hid this secret in plain sight, disguising it as just a dark piece of music to fit in with the game's vibe, all while hiding the supposed audio of what the spring-lock incident sounded like. But no one actually knew if this was the case, or if it was just a coincidence, and even 10 years later, no one still knows the answer. But when you look deeper into this piece of audio, that's when things get even more interesting. The normal spring-lock audio heard in game is just an 8-bit sound that doesn't really align with what is described when a spring-lock suit goes off, as the sound would be way more metallic, and you would arguably hear screams, bone crushing, along with blood spilling from within the suit. But for this 8-bit version, you hear none of that. Then shortly after Five Nights at Freddy's 3 released, some fan-made renditions of the audio began to pop up that were way more realistic and depicted what a spring-lock failure would actually sound like, which included a lot of these elements. But where exactly did these audios draw inspiration from? Well, since the books weren't out, and since FNAF 3 was the only piece of media that featured a spring-lock failure in it within FNAF 3's early days, that meant these fan-made renditions needed to use their imagination, and this cut main menu music is where a lot of people speculated they originated from. But then where did this music originate from? Obviously, they didn't spring-lock someone in real life to get it made, so then where did these creepy blood drip sounds come from? Well, the same place a lot of the other FNAF songs came from, with those being stock sound effect libraries. This particular piece of music was composed by an artist called Pantom, and the track was posted on the Pond 5, and is simply called Scary Ambience with Alien Noises. Yeah, not dripping noises, alien noises. This song was never made by Scott and was literally just bought online for $6 so he could throw it into the game without putting much thought into it. But again, this still doesn't answer the question of what is being used to make that sound. It also brings up another question of why it wasn't used in the final game, which we'll go over after I insert this obligatory new merch drop ad. Yes guys, new merch is out and it features brand new designs that are featured on a variety of items, ranging from t-shirts, heavyweight shirts, sweatshirts, and even more. Every design is completely unique and is designed to fit the Halloween season, as each design is inspired by different genres such as grunge, industrial, and so much more. First-time buyers get free shipping on all items, and also can get future discount codes by signing up to the newsletter or by joining my Tier 3 membership on YouTube. And you'll also get even more benefits. So get your shirts and stuff while you still can, as these items will only be available until fall ends. So go to the link in the pinned comment or description to buy while you still can. And to support your favorite creator, which is me, hopefully. I don't know, probably not. Anyways, now this piece of music isn't anything too special, and honestly is only interesting because of the theories behind it. But to unfortunately debunk these theories, this audio was most likely never intended to be a reimagining of the spring-lock failure scene, as since this wasn't made by Scott, it wouldn't make sense, unless he tried to find an audio that could be interpreted that way, which, well, we'll never know the answer to. So this dripping effect was probably just intended to be some alien noise, since that is what the track name suggests. But what's even more intriguing is why Scott never used it in the final game, and I think there are a couple answers behind that. I honestly think that it was too dark to be put into the final game, and didn't fit with the rest of the games in the series, since the rest of them actually had music and didn't feature weird sound effects in them. Or it could have also been due to licensing issues, which could have prevented Scott from actually using it in a paid version of the game. But the unanswered questions regarding this song is what makes it so damn creepy in my opinion. Sure, we don't know what the story is behind this audio, and we don't know if it was supposed to be foreshadowing William Afton's death, but I think that is why I find it so creepy and interesting. The idea that Scott might have actually planned something for the first time in FNAF history is unlikely, but due to the fact we actually see what is presumably the Springlock scene happen in the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 teaser trailer makes me think otherwise. It makes me think that this piece of cut music was originally intended to be an official piece of audio of the Springlock failure scene. Even though the original audio wasn't made by Scott or was titled in a way to make it applicable to the Springlock scene, I still feel that it could have been a secret way of Scott indirectly foreshadowing to us the biggest and most important moment in FNAF history. But even if this isn't the case, then well, what could be that dripping sound? The sound of the blood of the missing children incident, or something much darker? And do you think this could be why Scott changed the music in the final version and cut this piece of music? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to see more videos just like this, then on screen are a couple videos YouTube thinks you will enjoy.